What up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. You already know who it is. It's round time for Wrench-a-holics, and today we got a couple things planned on the 240. Again, we're going to be working on the clutch master cylinder, the slave cylinder, as well as converting my hard line to a stainless steel line. So we got a lot to do, so let's get to it. Alright, so here we have it. These are the parts you need in order to do what I'm going to be doing today. So this is my clutch master cylinder, my slave cylinder, and this will be the stainless steel clutch line that's going to allow me to convert it from the OEM hardline. So these are all you need, and basically clutch fluid, which basically is like brake fluid .3. So that's pretty much it. Alright, so this is my clutch master cylinder. So pretty much the first thing I want to do is I just want to make sure I can break the fitting. So I'm going to break it here, and as soon as I get it loose, just retighten it so that it doesn't leak. And then we're going to go down to the bottom of the car, and we're going to also break the fitting that belongs to the slave cylinder. It'll be the same thing. My main goal here is just to loosen it so that makes it easier for me to mess with this hard line. Alright, so in order to do that, I got a line wrench. Basically, I'm looking for a 10, so I found it. This is the 10, so we're just going to go ahead and break it. Theoretically, these shouldn't be that hard to break, but if they are, just be prepared. Try not to strip around the fitting, but it's easier said than done. I feel like it's already gonna strip. Oh yeah. Alright, might just go with a regular wrench. Alright, cool. So alright, cool, got it. Sweet. Alright, so I broke it. Pretty much I know it's loose, and now I'm just going to retighten it just so that it doesn't leak. We're going to go ahead and jack up the car, do the same thing on the bottom end, and we should be good to go. I'm probably going to let it leak out from the end of the hard line going towards the slave cylinder just so that I can prevent it from leaking onto the car. And then the next step would be to loosen up the mounting bolts that hold the the master cylinder to the firewall. And then before we remove it, we actually got to go inside the car and loosen up the linkage that connects to the cylinder itself. So let's do it. Alright, so we're going to go and loosen these 12 I believe they're nuts. So the one right here and the other one's on top on the other side. We're going to loosen that, and that allows us to actually remove this. But before we can actually take it out completely, we got to go inside the car and take the linkage off. So we're going to go and remove it. Alright, so this is the linkage for the clutch pedal, and right there you see a little, looks like a clip or a C-clip or a push pin and something like that. You gotta remove that and push the pin out, and from there you'll be able to release the clutch master cylinder from the car. Alright, so I decided to break the fitting off the hard line as opposed to just breaking it off of the slave cylinder itself. So for most people, you're gonna retain the hard line, but for my situation, I'm actually going to remove the hard line. So for me, it doesn't really matter if I round out the fittings, but you just try to do your best to not round it out. When you remove it, it can be hard and difficult to remove because these fittings tend to seize up. So best investment, get these line wrenches that are specifically made for these fittings just so that you don't round them out. I understand that you may run into some issues, but you just have to do what you got to do to make it work. Alright, so this is a slave cylinder right here. When you get out the package, you'll notice that you have the bleed nipple here and the protective covering. This right here is for the hard line, or the soft line, if you decide to retain that whole system. But since we're not going that route, we're going to have to install these conversion fittings right here. So these fittings will take place. These fittings right here, so it's got a little the flare fitting side and then the AN style. So pretty much we're just going to insert it. So remove the cap and thread them down. You just want to make sure you don't cross that or anything like that. and just take your time with it so that it has a nice little seal. You don't have to put any type of tape, Teflon tape, plumber's tape, or anything like that, because the threads is not what makes the fitting secure. It's actually the tip. So you have the flare side and the AN side, so that's what's going to pretty much make the seal. So that and that, not the threading. So you don't have to put that Teflon tape, plumber's tape, or whatever you want to call it, onto it. So you do that here, and you'll be also doing that to the new clutch master cylinder. You take off the protective covering and screw down the fitting, making sure you don't thread it, cross thread it. It's the worst thing. You don't want it to cross thread. Once it's sit down tight, tighten it, and you're good to go. Alright, so this location here is where your slave cylinder will be. I already removed it, but in order for you to remove it, all you gotta do is just remove the two 14mm bolts that hold it in place. And that's pretty much it. So we're gonna go ahead and install it, reverse order pretty much, with the new fitting. So you'll see the brand new piece put on in just a little bit. Alright, so just a little tip if you wanna make it easier on yourself. Don't connect the line if you're going to be using the OEM style rubber line. Don't connect it. It makes it that much harder. The best way I do it is just have everything disconnected. What you can do is just go ahead and push on it to line up where the bolts go. This is probably the hardest part. It's lining this up right here. And then once you get it into place, you're good to go. Alright, got one. Go ahead and do the other side. Should line up in place. Always keep pushing forward. It makes it easier for you to drive these bolts down just by hand. You don't want to cross thread it, because if you do, then you're going to be doing more work. Alright, so once that's secure, go ahead and just use a 14 socket and you'll be good to go. And of course I don't have it. Oh, I do, right here. And again, you don't have to like torque it down like a gorilla. Just make sure it's on there tight so that you know it's not going to go loose. It's on a part that doesn't move, so you really don't have to torque it down super hard. I mean, we know tight is tight, so just make sure you're good. Alright, that should be good. That should be good. Alright, so the last piece. Since I already installed that fitting that comes with the line, I wasn't able to tighten it because I didn't have any counter traction. Now that it's on the transmission, I should be able to torque this down and have a nice little seal. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Again, this one here is also 14mm. So you can use a deep socket so you don't bottom out. You just want to tighten it so you don't get any leaks. And again, you don't got to go ham on it. Remember, the threadings aren't creating the seal. It's the actual tip. So this right here is done. So we got the brand new slave cylinder in. This right here is the old line. I'm going to be removing this, and we're going to be rerouting that new yellow stainless steel clutch line from the top. So we're going to go do that right now. Alright, so early in the video I was loosening these bolts, pretty much remove the 12s. Can be kind of hard. Got it off now. So pretty much remove the bolts. We already moved off that locking pin, and all we're going to do now is just remove the master cylinder from the vehicle. Try not to haggle with the main push rod, because we need to get the length of the rod and match it up so that we can have the right length on the new clutch master cylinder. So this is off. Try to take it off as easy as possible. This is what you don't want to mess up. You just want to make sure that you do not mess up or try to disturb the length of that push rod, because you're going to have to match that up with your new clutch master cylinder. So again, I already matched it up. The reason why it looks kind of crooked on camera is because the actual push rod on the old one is actually really loose. So it's a good thing that I changed it out. So there it is, brand new. We're going to go ahead and install this right now. Alright, so now that you have everything buttoned up, in order for you to install it, obviously it's in reverse order. And the hardest part of installing the clutch master cylinder is that when you insert the clutch master cylinder through the hole, basically there's a little fork that divides like this that you have to basically get and fish it through so that it connects in between your actual clutch pedal. Because if you're, let's say this is the clutch pedal, if you're either side, obviously that's the wrong way. So the easiest way to do it, well, I mean not easiest, but the hardest part is actually navigating that through and making sure that it goes in between the clutch pedal like so. Clutch master cylinder, route it as close as you can to the firewall, away from the headers or anything like that so you don't burn it up, and then put the straight shot into the slave cylinder, and then you're good to go. As you can see, look how clean it gets. You don't have that ugly metal line running across the top, so looks way cleaner in my opinion. The next thing I'm going to do is get rid of these hard lines for the brake master cylinder, so we're going to go ahead and do that too. We're going to reroute these and remove these hard lines because they're just ugly. So it's all looking good. The best way how I figured out how to bleed this system, I use a gravity bleed. Pretty much I just fill up the reservoir and I loosen this right here. I don't even connect it to the slave, and I just wait until fluid runs out. Once it runs out, I know that most of the air is pushed out. Again, that is not the complete way to do it. That's just the fastest way to make sure you get fluid all the way throughout the line, so you're not sitting there pumping the clutch and you know, in hopes of trying to make sure you can pump air, or you know, pump fluid towards this end. So go ahead and check the reservoir, see if you're maxed out, fill to the max level, and we're gonna go ahead and properly bleed the system. Alright guys, so we just finished up doing the hard line, I guess you can say upgrade, conversion, whatever you want to call it, but we just finished that up, and I already went ahead and just swapped out my clutch master cylinder as well as slave cylinder, and we just finished up bleeding the system and everything is all good. The main thing you just want to make sure when you do, or when you're bleeding the system, is that it's not a one-person job. You need two people unless you have like a speed bleeder. Pretty much, you know, it's 1, 2, 3 pumps of the clutch pedal, and you just tell your helper, assistant, whatever they are, to hold it down while you crack the bleeder nipple, and then you'll see some clutch fluid fuse out, and then you lock it up quick, and then you do it again, 1, 2, 3, crack it open, lock it up. So it's a little process. And then basically, you know, you just keep in contact with your helper, and you just ask them if the clutch pedal seems to be getting stiffer than normal from when it first started, and then you know you're heading in the right direction. The one thing also to be cautious of is that, like, probably every 1 or 2, I would say every 2 to 4 times you crack it open and close it, you just want to take a quick look at your reservoir, make sure it's not bottomed out or empty, because if it's empty, then you got to restart the whole process. Air has been introduced into the clutch system, and so now you got to rebleed it again. So with that being said, everything checked out. I just checked for all the leaks to make sure everything's cool, and we're good to go. So don't forget to hit like, subscribe. If you got any comments on below. Hit that subscribe button. All you got to do is just hit that button. Just hit it one time. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. If you haven't been watching, I know you've been watching, and I've seen you guys been watching. A couple of you guys haven't been subscribed, so if you're watching it right now, you might as well just subscribe to it, right? So subscribe, like, comment below, and until next time, hype is for the moment and style is forever. Deuces.